to happen very, very pragmatically. That is more important. That's what is the going to be my talk. And particularly in the perspective of technical education. I may not touch about the general education, but I would touch particularly about technical education because I'm very sure IEEE generally refers to a lot of technical education requirements. Okay. Now, before I start my talk, let me see the scenario of the education system in not in IITs, not in IISc, not even in triple IITs, but in university level colleges, in local colleges, in even in many colleges in the regional level. What is going to happen? Even at the university system, what is going to happen? When you look at the university system, you know very well that one registrar for examination is very, very important. Or it's called controller of examinations, which means even today we still talk about examination and only examination as the education, as the mark of, as the mark of education. So the real education has been totally lost altogether. This is one scenario. Let us keep this in mind at one picture. Second picture, see, again, I'm not talking at IIT level. I'm now taking the problems at the college level. When you look at any university system, there shall be a syllabus. Okay, there shall be a syllabus for electrical engineering. That is good. That is understandable. There has got to be some syllabus for a course on electronics engineering, electrical engineering. That is perfectly right. But what is the fun in having the syllabus for practicals? This is what I never understood even as a young teacher also. The real practice has got to be advocated by the teacher who really teaches the course. And the point that there is a specific syllabus for conducting the practicals does not really make me understand at all the relevance of technical education. So this is point number 2. Point number 3, more interesting. When the teachers teach in the class, after teaching in the class, they will tell that whatever today I have derived is very important, or whatever I covered today is very important. Then the one basic question which always remain with me when I was a student, ever since I was a student, is the following. Whatever the teacher has today taught has been important, then why did he teach all unimportant things till yesterday? Then why should he waste my time of my precious time till yesterday, and only today's subject he could have taught yesterday itself? And how many such important sessions are there? So the important sessions are not definitely in 30 in number over a semester or 40 in number over a semester. It's hardly 7, 8, 9 or 10. So what is this importance? Is this important from the point of the stupid examination which is going to come at the end of the semester? Or is it really important from the point of whole life? So our education system was essentially for just covering up the examinations, just making up the examination. This is one more scenario. Another very interesting scenario, which as parents
Sir,
also
one
we have
second.
seen. Yeah,
Whether you are
please.
changing your slide or still at
No, no,
one
no,
first.
no. This is still I'm just starting. Okay,
Okay,
I'm just
okay, okay. Yeah,
starting.
because
Okay,
somebody
right.
asked me that slides are not changing,
No, no,
then
no. Right,
after
right,
that
right.
we will just
Okay,
ask.
okay. So I'm just starting. So other situation is even at home, even at the school level, this is what is going to happen. Look at the mothers and fathers. Look at these mothers and fathers will also tell children whether they have seen all the old question papers and whether they are ready in answering all the old question papers. So also teachers would do that, all old question papers. And then they tell that this is important. So old question papers will definitely decide the depth of learning. This is very unfortunate. And another most interesting scenario is look at this examination timetable itself. students demand preparatory holidays before examination. And even most of the colleges accept that. They give preparatory holidays. Then even between the papers, they want 3 days gap or 2 days gap, or at least 3 days, 2 days gap, and they prepare only during that time. So everybody talks about preparing for examination. Please understand that. Everybody talks about preparing for the examination and nobody talks about learning the subject. That is where the national education policy, which has come after 72, 73 years of independence, is at least the first attempt towards learning. That is what I really want to underscore. Okay. Is that slide moving now? Okay. Is the slide moving?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes.
It is moving.
So now this national education policy document is about 72 pages. It has got mainly two sections. First section is from section number 1 to section number 8, which focuses on primary education and school education. Section number 9 onwards, it is for the higher education. But then the reading of higher education alone will not make the reading complete. One has got to read through section number 1 to 8 because many things would be referred from section 9 onwards to section 1 to 8. Therefore, the reading will be complete only when you read right from section number 1. So it is just a very simple, wonderful document of 72 pages. So higher education starts from section number 9 onwards. Specifically, higher education is dealt in section number 9, section number 10, section number 11, and section number 12. Section number 15.9 really attracts. It tells how PhD coursework should be reoriented, how PhD should be made more meaningful. And then section number 23 is technology use and integration, about which I need not stress more for an engineering college faculty, etc. But anyhow, section number 23 is on technology use and integration. So these are so the whole strong stress is on continuous assessment, not on examinations. In the examples which I cited, you are very clear that they're all examination oriented. All our education system, unfortunately, is examination oriented. Yeah, so again, I'm not focusing on how the education happens at the institutions of national importance, but I'm focusing on what is happening all over India in general. So the strong stress, national education policy has a strong stress on continuous assessment, not on examination. That is more important. So it tells that the assessment method must be scientific. That means if the document has got to tell after 72 years of independence of India, then the assessment method has got to be scientific, then surely it is very clear till date the assessment method has been highly unscientific, which is naturally very true. Although we just claim that India produces engineers for the whole world, India does this, India does that, and whole America is afraid of Indian students, their level of mathematics, etc. But the assessment method has been unscientific. That we have got to accept. The assessment method must be scientific. This is what is a very strong recommendation in national education policy. And it tells clearly, I have taken the words, phrases from national education policy only in this particular slide, designed to continuously improve learning. It should be assessment method should be designed to continuously improve learning. So assessment is not the end point. Assessment should be a continuous process, and even the assessment should improve learning. Whereas our existing examination system, once the examination is conducted, the students are not even bothered to look into the answer book, to look into the evaluation what has been done, which means they know that the examination does not improve the learning because it is always the end point. It just is a gateway either to go further or to remain at the same level. So this point is more important. Assessment should be designed to continuously improve learning. So assessment should become a part of learning. So assessment should be to test the application of knowledge. Naturally, Our assessment method, so-called assessment, so-called examination, never bothers about this. Even at MTech level, it does not bother about this at all. It tests only the memory capability. Look at the questions. With a neat Venn diagram, explain the computer architecture. What is this? With a neat Venn diagram, explain the computer architecture. So that never tests the application of the knowledge at all, let alone the creation of knowledge, but application of knowledge also is not tested. So that clearly tells move away. This is the exact statement from National Education Policy statement. Move away from high stakes examinations. All right. Move to continuous and comprehensive evaluation. This is more important. All teachers who are listening to me should really note this particular point. Move to continuous and comprehensive evaluation and assess students based on learning goals. Assess students based on learning goals. Learning for what? Learning for not clearing that semester. Learning for not clearing that BE, but learning for the entire life. Assess the students based on learning goals, learning outcomes. So preparing for examination has unfortunately become the order of the day. So we prepare. So this slide is now for preparing for examination vis-a-vis learning. What does preparing tell? Preparing tells make ready for use or just for consideration. For example, I have prepared these slides. I have not, I need not learn to prepare these slides, but I have prepared these slides. Like a surgeon will tell the nurse, prepare the operation theater. That is a preparation. Like mother would tell the daughter, prepare the dining table because some guests are about to come, prepare the dining table. Like, unfortunately today, our parents force our children to get prepare for joint entrance examination. What a stupid thing which is happening. Prepare for joint entrance examination. Prepare for NEET. Prepare for GATE examination. Why, for that matter? We have coaching centers to prepare our IEES also. Prepare for public service examinations. No way we have stressed till now on learning, but we have our stress has been only upon preparing. So preparing for joint entrance examination, okay, and then I join an engineering program, then I prepare for first semester, I prepare for second semester. Never I am involved in the learning process. That is where, what does preparation do? Preparation just focuses any candidate to learn what to answer. That is the problem. So preparation is perfection in replication. That's all. If I can replicate from my memory, I have got a lot of marks. It is a lookup table approach. It is memorizing. That's all. Preparing ends up in memorizing, and that is what all our so-called learners do it. And all this is what is encouraged by even many colleges, many institutions in India. This is where the preparing has no meaning at all. That has got to be understood. That is stressed right from page number 1 of National Education Policy. That is the reason I told you that this is what everybody has got to go through. Particularly the academicians have got to go through starting from page number 1, and all the first 8 sections will focus on this particular point. This is what attracted me very, very much. Now, on the contrary, learning is the process of acquiring new understanding. This is exactly what IEEE syllabus also tells. IEEE model syllabus also tells. So learning is the process of acquiring new understanding, is the process of acquiring knowledge, is the process of acquiring behavior, is the process of acquiring skills also. Learning is the process of acquiring values, attitudes, and preferences. So learning is the ability. It enables devising the solution to a problem, not what to answer, but it makes one to think how to answer. That is what is more important, not what to answer. What to answer is by preparation. How to answer is what is towards devising the solution to a problem. It is an ability. So learning becomes an ability. So learning, creative understanding. Learning leads to creative understanding. What is creative understanding? It is naturally assimilating. First assimilating, then internalizing and inculcating. Whereas in preparation, all these things cannot happen at all. There, the internalizing is only memorizing. Inculcating is only reproducing. That's all. It is a direct interface from the memory to the pen so that the answers could be written. Therefore, if there is any question for which the answer is not memorized, the candidate will not be able to answer at all. Whereas learning leads to creative understanding. This is the goal of national education policy. So let us introspect what is happening at our institution level. Are we effectively transforming our students as knowledge practitioners? Knowledge practitioners? No, no, no. We are effectively transforming our students as examination practitioners. We are not transforming them as knowledge practitioners. So then the next question that we should introspect is, are our students merely loaded with information? I think even information is a wrong word. They are merely loaded with data and compelled to memorize the whole lot of data. That's all. They are not even loaded with information. They are loaded with, they are compelled to memorize the whole lot. Then that's the second part of our earlier education system. But at least after national education policy, I'm very sure all academicians, all teachers, all the colleges, all the managements of the colleges in universities would think seriously about this particular point. Have we been successful in elevating our students to such a level that they could critically assimilate whatever they have gathered? Critically assimilate whatever they have gathered. That is what has got to happen. But let us think very seriously about this point. Are our students augmented with such talent to acquire skills that they can make things happen? This is most important. In fact, learning is a methodology to bridge knowing with doing. So doing can become possible only if knowing is completed. But doing happens only after the candidate has been able to build up the skills also. That is what learning provides, the bridge from knowing to doing. So the bridging is that skills. So bridging the doing with knowing is what has got to happen through learning. And that is what has been emphasized in national education policy. Right then, what has got to be that I've tried to picturize this. The end of learning is definitely to go on to the top of education fulcrum. But to go over there, it is not just mountaineering, but then it is intelligently building up the steps. Intelligently building up the steps. How to build up? Naturally, he has got to learn to build the steps. How can he build these steps? Only knowledge of building the steps is not enough. He has got to surely have the skill. So he has the knowledge here, but he should have the skill to build the steps. And for completing that skill, he should have good tools also. In fact, unfortunately, particularly you look at the computer science people or so-called information science people, when they write their biodata, they write in the skill set as C++. They write in the skill set as, Adobe or Photoshop. That is not skill set, that is tool set. Skill is the ability to transform the knowledge into performance, into action, into doing. And for that, he definitely needs the tools. And, the way we encourage our placement people, our colleges tell that the skill set is C++, our skill set is Python, our skill set is Java. They don't understand the difference between the tool set and the skill set. Skill set is your intrinsic ability, the candidate's intrinsic ability. That is why in this picture, I have tried to summarize everything. The knowledge is there, knowledge is in the brain part of it, and then the skill has got to come out from him, and he has got to utilize the proper tools, and then he has got to build up the steps, and then he has got to reach the top. That's what is the real learning. And real learning, it should not be like this. This is a teacher and this is a student. Most of our teachers try to do this jack up business. They try to pull up the candidate. This is the wrong model of education, very incorrect model of learning. On the other hand, the teacher has got to be behind a learner. The teacher has got to push the learner up. And then, do you know why the teacher has got to just push and the teacher has got to stand behind? In case the learner slips, the teacher who is standing behind should be able to protect him from not falling down fully. That is also the purpose of the teacher standing behind the learner and pushing, rather than the teacher just jacking him up like this. So we have seen our whole education process, of which we also have been victims. We have seen that right from school education, this is what was happening. And national education policy has taken a very, very bold step and a very bold statement in telling that the whole education pattern in India has got to undergo a change. But then it is not a new issue for Indians. It should not have been a new issue for Indians. You look at the epic stories of either Ramayana or Mahabharata. If you carefully look into Ramayana or Mahabharata, this, what is now told in NEP, has already been advocated in the education system of Ramayana and Mahabharata as a holistic learning, as a holistic education system. That's what exactly now it has got to happen. Okay, all right. And then, so the whole crux that the national education policy summarizes is, now I am summarizing it in my own way. It tells that we should act. What is the act? We should develop the ability in the candidates to critically think. So act. So national education policy just tells one should now start acting. So students should develop the ability to critically think. So thinking, critically analyzing, carefully planning, and creatively exploring. So these are the things which should happen in the entire learning process. On the other hand, we just make them answer some examination. Look at the problem as an examination deformation. One semester end examination or 1 year end examination is incorrect. They understood. They knew that it is unscientific. Then they brought in so-called internal assessment. But unfortunately, what happened is our colleges and our teachers were successful in making them another mini examinations. The internal, they forgot the word internal assessment. They made it as internal test, and they simulated the same model. Once in 1.5 months, they conducted one more test. The examination question paper pattern was identically followed. And even in the examination question paper, even in engineering examinations, even in a big engineering examination like electronics engineering, civil engineering, mechanical engineering, no wonder you would be seeing the questions like write short notes on. Normally, the last question is write short notes on. And the similar pattern is followed even in the internal assessment, even in the internal test. That is the unfortunate part. That's where NEP tells the ability to critically think has got to be nurtured. Okay. So assessment has to become more continuous, not based on usual tests and examinations. So internal tests and examination do not really measure the capability of any learner, and that should not be done also. So assessment has got to be outcome expected. Assessment has got to measure the learner's orientation, and therefore outcome expected and learner's orientation should get interleaved while assessing a candidate. That's what has got to happen. Now, assessment, what do I mean by assessment? Assessment is the ability to test, to check the ability of the student to work. Should be his or her ability to work. So what is working? Work has many dimensions. Work is thinking about the problem thing. So thinking itself has got to be assessed. Now tell me how our examination system would be able to assess the thinking ability. Are there any questions which make the candidate to think and answer? No, he straight away interfaces the answer from the memory. So work should involve thinking, So naturally the assessment of thinking, then from thinking you should be able to create an answer. So that creating, plan, carefully implement, and then carry out, perform, execute, reproduce and check whether whatever he has done is right or wrong, and then internalize and then develop. These are all the different dimensions of the work, and all these different dimensions of the work has got to be holistically unified, and all these different components have got to be assessed, and total assessment of a candidate should show the holistic development, should quantify the holistic development of a particular candidate of the learner. That's what has got to happen. All right. Now, assessment, the nature of assessment is, see, typically you take up an engineer. Any engineer more would be involved with planning and executing the work, planning and execution. So naturally, planning and execution of the work takes enough time. Or in other words, planning is a formative process. Execution is the end step of the formative happening. Therefore, our assessment should also simulate our colleges, our classroom environment, our learning environment should simulate this planning and execution part of it. Therefore, a candidate should be given such type of wonderful assignments. Assignment does not mean one assignment for the entire class. It will be different types of assignment, different assignments for different groups, and they should be allowed, they should be given enough time to do the planning and execution. Of course, some small problems can be independent problem. However, planning has got to be in the group. So we should encourage that group culture, but then the assessment should be very good enough to identify the niche achieved by every individual in the group, and we should be able to assess. So planning and execution naturally leads to the formative assessment. But I'm not telling that only should be based on planning and execution all the time. It has got to have, the candidate should build up the crisis handling ability also. So the crisis handling ability could be taken up as the summative assessment, as the last point. A crisis should be situated. So even if you cannot have a practical type of crisis, all right, that can be taken up as an examination. And when you give a question paper in an examination question paper, that question should simulate the crisis. And you should be able to handle that crisis within that limited amount of time. So crisis handling has got to happen not with an infinite amount of time, but with a certainly definite amount of time, and it has got to happen quickly. It is like a doctor taking care of the heart attack instantaneously. Such a thing has got to happen. It may be like a crash. It may be like a memory crash, and then he has got to shoot the problem immediately. So that should be the crisis handling, and that has got to be the summative assessment. So broadly, the formative assessment should be more important, and it should be totally continuous. And similarly, we can have a summative assessment, but then that should be more for the crisis handling. But if a learner fails to handle the crisis, should not be considered as an unsuccessful candidate, because crisis handling will be possible only with the experience. So we should tell him that you have got to gather the experience. So failure in crisis handling should not mean a failure. But now you see what is happening in our examination system. Failure in the examination is a total fail. He is called as a failed candidate, and we decide that he has not learned anything based on one examination. And there could be reason why on the day of examination he could not even answer the question. There could be a reason which we don't even try to understand. On the other hand, formative assessment has got to be given the greater weightage. That's exactly what the national education policy advocates. And I'm very sure there are many IEEE teacher community over here who are listening to me. They should think very seriously about this particular aspect, and we should also introspect whether we have been doing it, and naturally we have not been doing it, and that's where we have got to think very seriously how we have got to change the entire learning environment. Learning and teaching should be a single entity. They are not two different entities. Learning and teaching is a joint entity. So teaching drives the learning drives the teacher also, right? That's what has got to happen. Okay, so the whole purpose is identify the capability. We should identify the capability, nurture the ability, and enhance the performability of the candidate. So it is summarized as CAP. So our job of any learning system is to enhance this CAP. What is CAP? CAP is capability, ability, and performability. All right. Learner-based assessment, but not mass-centric assessment mechanism. Why I have used this word mass-centric assessment? Because in most of the university system, it is central valuation. Therefore, it is mass examination, a question paper meant for mass. And when we develop a question paper for mass, naturally the level of question paper will be only for average or only for below average, because we want even the below average candidate to pass the examination. Therefore, the assessment does not become learner-based assessment. It becomes a mass-centric evaluation system, which National Education Policy strongly tells no, because the teacher is autonomous. So also the assessment has got to be autonomous, and it has got to be the participation of every student in the continuous learning, and without his knowledge, the candidate should get assessed. I am focusing on this particular point very, very strongly. Okay, so it tells the National Education Policy very strongly advocates autonomy in teaching and autonomy to the learner. Therefore, I give a new meaning to the LTP. Normally, LTP refers to lecture, tutorial, and practical model. But then I try to give a new meaning here. So autonomy in teaching can be possible with this new meaning. L stands for listening comprehension. See, hitherto, L was meaning the lecture component, which means lecturing only. The teacher would have enjoyed only lecturing. He would not have even bothered to check whether whatever he has been speaking has been understood by the student or not. But L should stand for listening comprehension. The learner should show that comprehension to listen and internalize. Therefore, the listening comprehension is naturally limited. Even psychologists tell that one can listen in a capsule of maximum 20 minutes, not more than 20 minutes, right? That's what they tell. Therefore, we have got to redesign our lecturing modules such that one module is covered in 20 minutes, and the next module after a gap of 3-4 minutes after a link, then another module of 20 minutes. But then we should ensure what is more important is not lecturing. Lecturing is equally important. What is more important is listening comprehension. So he has got to listen. And then what is happening is, you look at our courses, particularly at the university level, every course will be taught for entire week, 4 hours in a week, a paper. It can be any paper, integrated circuit on the blackboard. They teach for 4 hours. And the practical is a different course, not at all linked with that course. And that will be only once in a week. So the strong advice here, which is not directly said in National Education Policy, but is implied, that lecture component should be minimized. Reduce lecturing, reduce, so that naturally lecturing has got to be reduced because listening comprehension is limited. So this has got to be minimized. So lecture component has got to be minimized. And then what is more important? After listening, after the lecture, the student has now knows the area, now knows the depth. Therefore, he should now transact, do lot of transaction. This transaction makes him the deep learning. Depth of learning happens only when he starts transacting. Okay, listening provides him the breadth. Listening pinpoints that these are the things that he has got to pick up. But T is a transacting ability, which naturally has got to go through a lot of desk work, lot of tutorials. T also stands for tutorials. So through tutorials, all this transacting ability has got to be developed. So lecture has got to be listening comprehension. Listening comprehension should lead a candidate to a transacting ability. Transacting ability has got to be enhanced. This is what has got to happen at all. We have seen that, I'm sure. IEEE would have received, IEEE professionals would have received such message from several industries that these boys are good at doing the thing, but they are not good at even expressing. They don't even transact, but they will do it. They do it. They work on the test, they work on the machine, they do it, but then they don't even transact. So transacting ability is more important. After transacting, it is not enough. He has got to internalize. The internalizing happens only by participatory learning. He should do the practice of the subject. I don't want to call it as practicals, although practicals implies that practicing is what is the essence of the practical, but still I don't like to call it as practicals, but I like to refer that the entire engineering has got to be practiced very thoroughly. So practice, what has got to be practiced, what has got to be tested practically, what has got to be established practically should be understood through the transaction. And what has got to be transacted should be understood after listening. So every course, every subject that you learn should be a holistic combination of all these three LTP components, whereas in a conventional college, in a conventional university, the lecture, so-called theory classes are different, so-called theory papers are different, and so-called practical papers are all different. And that is why you recall my earlier statement that our university system has got the syllabus for practicals also, which is a very poor show of education. So the teacher should have the freedom to decide what has got to be practiced by a candidate, what has got to be the skill set that the candidate has got to pick up, and that's all based on what is delivered by him in that particular subject and to what depth. So the every course should have all these three components, and it should be integrated component of lecture, tutorials, and practice. So this is what is very indirectly and very beautifully conveyed in the national education policy. So the whole idea that somewhere the practical is different, somewhere theory classes is different, and based on theory, a big examination, semester end examination is written. And you look at very interesting cases. Data structure is a very beautiful course in computer science and engineering. Algorithm is a very beautiful course in computer science and engineering. They would pass the theory examination. They will not be able to pass the practical examination. On the other hand, some students by heart even those algorithms and pass the practical examination, and many students are not able to clear the data structure theory paper. Then what sort of learning is this? So that is where the national education policy, this has got to be observed when you read between the articles. In between, it is not openly said in national education policy. This is what it tells. It tells that the whole education has got to be totally holistic. I mean, every paper has got to be holistic. Recursively, every paper that has been taught to the student has got to be holistic in all the sense. It should be skill. It should be skill. It should be a theory basis in L, a skill basis, and transacting. Transaction should be able to link the lecture with the practice. This is what has got to happen. So that is the new meaning of LTP, and that is where a teacher should enjoy the autonomy. All right. But now, naturally, in the present education system, with the heavy university education system, autonomy cannot be possible at all, because every student is afraid of the examination, because they think that the question paper will be set by somebody and they should be prepared to answer that question paper. They are all more worried about the question paper, more worried about the answer book. And similarly, a teacher is assessed based on the results produced by him. How many students have passed? You know, These are all the things which have been addressed very carefully in the national education policy. So it ultimately tells, this is exactly the phrase taken from national education policy. Learning has got to be experiential. One has got to experience the learning. I think I have got to give one very simple example. I saw madam also sitting over here, and I'm sure there are many ladies, and that I'm very sure that there are many married ladies also. Today, if I pick up any married, elderly married lady and ask her a very simple question, how did your mother-in-law receive you when you entered house, your husband's house, on the first time, very first time? Very simple question. The question is, how did your mother-in-law receive you when you entered your husband's house for the first time? The candidate does not tell that I need to prepare the answer for this. The candidate does not tell that give me a preparatory holiday, then I shall come prepared and write the answer. The candidate, maybe even 60 years old, 65 years old, would readily give the answer, and in fact, the candidate would start asking the question, tell me how long I should speak about it. Should I speak about it for 1 hour? Should I speak about it for 30 minutes? Should I speak about it for 50 minutes? Or should I tell it in one single line? That is because the experience, the experience of her entry into husband's house has been so much inculcated in her that she cannot even forget. That has become the part of her life. That is what has got to happen. That is what is the experiential learning. And I doubt whether our students have developed this experiencing the learning during their education at all. Okay, well, this is the most important point. Okay, in fact, there is even examination is very beautifully defined. What is the examination? Somebody has very beautifully told it. Examination is not on the day of the examination, but up to the day of examination. If somebody can understand the meaning of this, then the whole whatever I have explained is understood. Examination is up to the day of examination, not on the day of examination. But then what we have made in India, day of examination is a festival, is a ritual, is a dedication. Is on that day only you were being a distinction candidate, a rank candidate, or not a candidate will be decided. That's what the experience has no meaning at all, no value at all. So experiential learning. Okay. All right. So what has got to be the learning? Now I am summarizing this. Learning naturally should ensure the foundation being strong. The foundation should be strong. That is what is understanding. Understanding has got to be strong. Then understanding should lead to happen. It should lead a student to make the things happen. In other words, he should develop the ability to implement. From foundation strong, he should have the ability to implement. And this ability to implement is not theoretical. It has got to be definitely skill-based. That is why I said the learning has got to be the composition of LTP. P, the practice, enhances the skill learning. T enhances the transaction learning, going into the depth and analytics. And L, definitely the listening comprehension, understanding. The first understanding happens. Then the learning should not stop here. Even the learning should end into generating the new knowledge. It is not just happening of the existing knowledge, but ability to create the new knowledge. That is what has got to happen. Surely I don't expect generating the new knowledge in the first year, second year itself, but at least when it does this BE final year project, it should show some creating ability also. It should generate the new knowledge. That's what is the learning. So only then learning would be complete. And that is what national education policy also now strongly observes. Okay. And now I put the same thing in a little different way. Learning through L, the lecture session, which exposes the candidate to what has got to be learned. T, the tutorial. Just now I told L as listening comprehension. T as transacting component. The transactions, maybe we call them as tutorials. And during the tutorial, the reinforcement has got to happen. This is where is the depth. Those who are aware of machine learning, they know very well what is reinforcement learning. So then practice, L and T should lead to practicing the subject. I do not want to call it as practicals, practice P, and that is what is the skill development. So exposure, reinforcement, and skill together, not independently, together will make it a good learning. So, I just focused on LTP. L is, let us say, lecture session, and it facilitates the exposure, and then that should be minimized. As I've been telling, I strongly advocate. I have already implemented it in IIIT Allahabad, and I had implemented it in our department in University of Mysore. I said this should be minimized. You see, when you were students also, I'm very sure you would have got bored to sit in a class. And I also never like to sit in the class, particularly when it is boring. If the teacher is very good and if it is very informative, we don't know how the time flies. But then it is always better that the teaching should be minimum, but should be very effective. And it should not be spoon feeding. It should be motivating, thrilling, and triggering. It has got to trigger the thinking process. So lecture session facilitate the exposure and should be minimized. T, the tutorial session, and P, the practice session, they should be maximized. This has got to be maximized. This is exactly what National Education Policy strongly advocates in section number 9 and 10. Whoever would read it properly would understand that this is what has got to be maximized. So this tells exploring the depth. The transactions will make the candidate to explore the depth, to seek the clarity, to assimilate, to extend the horizons, to enhance the thinking. All these things will happen. All these things certainly cannot happen by a teacher. It has got to be experienced by a learner. Learner has got to get involved. So teacher, that is why, has got to be a driving force. And in the diagram I told, the teacher has got to be behind the learner. Not that he should jack up a learner, not that he should pull up a learner, but he should push the learner into exploring the depth, into seeking the clarity, into assimilating, into extending the horizons. And he should not the teacher should not go towards the horizon and show the student, look, this is the horizon. No, he has got to push him towards seeing the horizon. Enhance his thinking, his dreaming, his logical dreaming abilities should be enhanced. That is what has got to happen in the transacting sessions. Okay, right? And not necessarily that this should take place in classroom, not necessarily should happen in campus, or it could be on sites also. It could be through mini internship. It could be through tech savvy mode. Now, naturally, there are so many tech savvy capsules have become available, tech savvy capsules, exploratory learning, online learning, all of them have become available, and teachers should start developing that. Similarly, practice session, validating. Here, the depth should be validated, perfecting, becoming skillful. These are the things which should happen in the practice session. Can also be supplemented largely through online simulations and animations. Okay, these are the things. Then what is going to happen? Entire process naturally should be in the continuous mode. And what that process should be in the continuous mode, therefore, even assessment of a learner should be truly continuous. Even the student should not even come to know that he is undergoing the assessment process. It should be truly continuous. If you really want to see that happening, one can come to IIIT Allahabad and see that our students are not really worried that they're being assessed, because assessment naturally happens, automatically happens. So assessment is not to mark him, but assessment is to provide a constructive feedback to the learner. That is what is the purpose of assessment, is to give him the constructive feedback to the learner, so that he can he can end up doing the proper learning process. Now I shall come to the quickly second part. Puneet Mishra, can I take some 5-10 minutes?
Yes, sir. Of course, you can go ahead.
Sure. Thank you very much. Now, how learning credit? See, our learning syllabus, when you look at our learning syllabus, I'm very amazed. You look at, for example, any affiliating university or any technological university, you look at their syllabus, they tell that there are 25 credits in a semester, 30 credits in a semester. Somewhere I'm very afraid. Have we done any scientific analysis of deciding and designing how credits have got to be, how much of credit load has got to be there? Let us try now. A day has a 24 hours. In that, a student at that age, teenage, should sleep and relax at least for 10 hours. Sleeping and relaxing, even relaxing at least for 10 hours. So only when a person can relax and only when a person knows how to sleep, the subconscious, the learning in the subconscious would definitely happen. Therefore, at the teenage, it should be at least for 10 hours. Definitely, doctors tell 8 hours at least one should sleep. I have made it to 10 hours. Daily routine and playing and exercise, which is very necessary for a teenage person, should be at least for 6 hours. Then 10 plus 6 is 16 hours. Therefore, the learning, which is a business, should be for 8 hours. Naturally, any office will also work for 8 hours. 8 hours. So 10, 6 and 8 hours. So now learning available is only 8 hours. A week of, let us assume, a maximum of 6 days, not 7 days, 6 days. 8 into 6 is 48 hours. But for a BTech, let us assume that preferred is only 5 days. So 5 days into 8 hours should be 40 hours. Therefore, the learning business should be for an average candidate, not a below average candidate. For a normal pace candidate, it should be about 40 hours. Now, how credit should be decided? This is keeping Indian scenario in mind. We have designed it, we have implemented it. I will also give the comparison with American scenario immediately. Every credit of learning should be approximately 1 hour of interaction, which can be lecture or it can be discussion or it can be to a transaction or it can be practice discussion. I'm not telling the practice discussion. So this can be 1 hour. Any 1 hour of interaction with the teacher should get associated with, should imply, should extract 1 hour of self-involved working, should extract at least 1 hour of work from the candidate. So if I talk to a student for about 1 hour, I should also make sure that I am going to put the student through 1 more hour where he has got to involve himself in solving the problem or in doing whatever it is associated with the discussion which has happened in the 1 hour. Therefore, every credit requires, let us say, 1 hour of interaction with the teacher plus 1 hour of self-involved working. Therefore, it should be minimum 2 hours. So, 1 credit simply implies minimum 2 hours. So, you recall that I suggested that only 40 hours and minimum 2 hours. Therefore, it becomes only 20 credits per semester. I cannot really understand how many courses, many institutions will take it up to 25, 30. In fact, 20 credits is also unscientific. I tell you now, the American situation. In an American situation, every 1 hour of class extracts minimum 2.5 hours of work by the student, by a learner at undergraduate level. So that is the reason why an undergraduate course day in America will not allow any candidate to go for more than 15 credits or more than 14 credits per semester. That we should understand. But then we still are not come up to that level. So I have followed in midway path. So I have decided that I have told that every 1 hour of lecture, our teacher should be able to extract 1 hour of work, and that leads to, and I have said already 40 hours. only 40 hours at BTech level, so 20 credits. Why I have said 40 hours? If there is a slow learner, he can make use of the 6th day. He can make use of the 6th day and spill over to 6th day. That is the reason. So you should be limited to 40 hours only. And it is ideal. 40 hours, even any work is also said to be 40 hours per week only. That's what has got to be maintained. So 40 by 2 is about 20 credits. Therefore, at a BTech level, it has got to be only 20 credits. Let us see what's going to happen at the MTech level. So at a BTech level, when it is become 4 years program, it should be maximum 160 credits only into 8 semesters. It should be 160 credits, not 175, not 200. You know, several colleges, several institutions think it has got to be minimum 200 credits. You know, so this is where one has got to. In fact, it should be less than 160 credits also. All right, but at least should not cross 160 credits. Okay, for master's degree, week can be now 48 hours. Naturally, a student at master's degree will not relax too much. He will cut down the sleep also by 1 hour. So 1 hour of interaction should at least extract 2 hours of work from every student. That's what has got to happen. So it is not preparatory holiday which will be given for the candidate. It is every day. If there is 1 hour of interaction in a week, in that week itself, on that interaction, a master's degree student should at least spend 2 hours. So that's equivalent to 3 hours. Therefore, the 48 divided by 3 is about 16 credits. 48, that's all. That is why an MTech program should not exceed about 64 credits. That is how one has got to put some scientific thinking. This is naturally, these calculations are with Indian scenario, but then you should know that those who have done MS abroad definitely would know that nobody would be allowed to register for more than 12 credit. 12 is the upper limit. Generally, per semester, a candidate will be allowed to register for only 9 credits, 9 to 12 credits only in MS courses in America. Whereas, okay, for Indian compromise, there is a mid-pass solution which I have suggested. This is how we have got to do our own scientific analysis, scientific calculation in deciding how much we have got to take, and then how well it has got to be taken. How much is the quantity, how well is the quality. All right. Okay. So what we have done is this. We have divided the entire semester period into 2 main parts. One is called component 1 part and another is component 2. This is the first part of the semester. This is the second part of the semester. And the first part of the semester is about, a semester, you know, is about 16 weeks. The first part of the semester is about 7 to 8 weeks. And second part of the semester is about 7 to 8 weeks. And further, the first part is divided into 2 units and second part is divided into 2 units. So that the whole thing is per month for about 4 weeks, 1 unit of coverage is completed. That is what it has got to happen. It is spread out. It is spread out. Formative assessment is ensured, and at the same time, continuity is ensured. Okay, this is what we have done, and then approximately 1 unit in 1 month's duration. 1 month duration is not fully 4 weeks. It is about 3 weeks only, because we have got to give room for many other activities like they have drama competition, that, this, etc. So about 3 to 3.5 weeks, 1 month. So term and formalities would be called C3 period. This is 8 plus 8. This is about 2-3 weeks, including if there is any makeup examination to be made, then it can be there. So totally a semester is about 20 to 21 weeks, and immediately after, note that this is all total continuous assessment. You don't need the time to prepare the result. It has got to be instantaneous because the continuous assessment is being maintained by the teacher. All right. Okay. So what we have done is this. We give the formative assessment, C1 period. The teacher has got to evaluate the candidate for a maximum of 30% of marks. but then it is not by one test at all. In fact, it is not by test at all. But if there is a test has got to be conducted, it should be at the end of the C1 period, and it should be a review test. That's all. It should be a review test. And that also, the test also is a comprehensive review, and it is for enhancing the learning. It is not necessary that he should be penalized in the test. It's all based on the continuous assignments, practice work, transacting ability, and the types of problems that the candidate solves, and the types of involvement when he makes the presentation, when he makes the discussion. It's all based on that. So 30% of the marks would be decided in C1. And C2, similarly, we follow 30% of all. Of course, you can change it. This is only some suggestion from my end. That's all. And then summative assessment is not really fully summative. Summative assessment, the C3 period is for 40%. That further, we have given the freedom that it can be 20 plus 20, or it can be 15 plus 25, or whatever it is. If teacher wants to give it as a term work, he can give. If a teacher wants to give it as an assignment, he can give. If a teacher wants to conduct only a practice-oriented discussion and practice-oriented test, he can do it. But then the whole point is one big examination of 3 hours should be avoided. That's what we follow. We have been following it very effectively. Effective semester and examination based. If at all a teacher still insists that I want to conduct an examination in the workspace, that does not exceed about 20% of marks. That's all. Okay. Therefore, the candidate's performance would be continuous. He would be on a formative scale, and at the same time, because the assessment is being received by him, the grades of assessment is being received by him, he will be continuously getting the feedback also. That is how we have done. This is much before national education policy. You should understand that. We have done it much before the national education policy, but now national education policy has been trying to tell that you have got to do it continuously, but in these quantifications, you have got to arrive. And these calculations which I have shown you here could help all of you to think your own model. All right. Okay. So minimum requirement, like we have put down, is this: attendance or participation should be at least 75%. If it is less than 75%, the candidate has to drop. We don't call any candidate as a fail. We just drop. You know, the drop like in your gambling cards. If you don't give the gambling cards combination very good, you will drop it, and then there's a middle drop. Similarly, we use that same word drop. We don't want to call any candidate as a fail. So if the candidate has attendance less than 75%, he automatically drops. Naturally, he can drop immediately after C1 period. He can drop after C2 period, depending upon his attendance. So, okay. And then C1 plus C2 period, minimum, he has got to get a minimum 30% of the marks. 30% of total 30 plus 30, 60%. Otherwise, is automatically dropped. Okay, that's what we have done. And you can have your own views. C3, the final, that's 40% of the mark. Again, there, if he gets less than 30%, this is for BTech program, less than 30% is dropped, but then he will be given one makeup option. By the end of C3, you will be given one makeup option to make it up. If it is sort of examination oriented, which I mentioned only 20%, right? For that, he can take up one makeup. C1 plus C2 plus C3, all put together, we have said that it should be, if it is less than 40%, it will be drop. What does drop mean? He has got to repeat the entire course. He has got to re-register for the entire course when it is offered again. That is what it is. That's all. Okay, then I shall just come to the semester design that we have done. Maximum per semester, we allow 24 credits, including the dropped credit. So if there is any dropped credit, generally recommended is only 20 credit, but a cushion of 4 is allowed if it is for covering up a dropped credit. Okay. Summer semester, we have created one summer semester, and this summer semester is only to clear dropped credits. But summer semester is hardly 2 months. So in 4 months, if one can cover 24 credit, what we have said, in 2 months, one can cover only 12 credits. So only to clear drop credits up to a maximum of 12 credits. That's what is. So a BTech program, normal learning pace is 8 semesters. Average learning period is 4 years, inclusive 4 summer semesters. Okay. And recall, for summer semesters are only for clearing the dropped papers, if any. Slow learning pace is 6 years. 6 years, which means he will get the spillover period, extra period of 4 regular semesters plus 2 summer semesters. So one can even carry forward up to 120 credits. So in 160 credits can be covered by a slow learner over 6 years, and an average learner is 4 years. But unfortunately, we are in India, so we have not been able to create the fast learner. We have not given the provision for a fast learner to complete it little earlier to 4 years. But then, okay, 4 years inclusive 4 summer semesters. So drop semester option is that if candidate can even drop one semester, he can drop entirely one semester. Maybe he gets a very good internship, or maybe there is family exigency, then he can drop that entire semester also, right? So normal period, then it's a regular fees. Spillover period, fee depending upon the credits that he has registered. That's what we follow. So this is exactly. So in addition to that, we have created a provision called add-on, which is not necessary, which is not compulsory for the student. It is volunteer. Add-on. You recall that per semester we said 24 credits, whereas normal load we recommend is 20 credits. And if the candidate does not have a drop course, he can register these 4 credits for some add-on study. This add-on study could be from the cognate field, in which case that will lead to specialization. Could be from the sister department, that will lead to minor add-on, or even could be from a specialized branch, like it could be from language. Many of our students in our campus, they take languages, they take Hindi, they take Kannada, they take English, they take other languages, Tamil, etc. And they take German, French, they take all those languages. And similarly, we have also provision for swimming, we have also provision for NCC, we have provision for karate. All these things can be taken as specialized branches: language, humanity, NCC, management, culture, India, philosophy, whatever he likes. We have got this provision. In fact, he can even do gardening, he can do whatever he likes. So these are the things, right? Even in participating the small management activities like arranging the functions, arranging the events, etc., event management are also thought of as add-on study. So if one can pick up 16 credits over 8 semesters, we give an add-on diploma. So add-on diploma will be given when he focuses in one particular branch, like only languages, or like only sports, like only NCC, or like only humanity, or like only sister department, or like only cognate. Then he will get an add-on diploma. Otherwise, any assorted, he can even pick up any assorted also, then he will get an add-on certificate also, along with the BTech program. It is not compulsory. If he doesn't want to take it, he need not take it at all. Okay, that's what it is. So MTech similarly is 4 semesters, and spillover is 4 semesters. We don't have a summer semester here. So MTech 4 regular is 4 semesters, spillover is 4 semesters. Slow learning pace is 4 plus 4, 8 semesters. Slow learning. Okay. So minimum requirements are slightly different, higher, similar way. It is slightly higher. Now lateral exits are multiple exits. So after 80 credits, we are planning to give a diploma. This is as per the national education policy. After 80 credits, that's after 2 years, you will get a diploma. After 120 credits, you will get a BSc, 3 years BSc. After 160 credits, you will get a BTech degree. This is, we don't admit the candidates to exit with a BSc. We don't admit the candidate that he should exit with a diploma, but if there is family exigency, if there is any reason that he has got to leave, he will get the credits transferred, as well he will get some, some quantifier, like some qualifier like diploma or a BSc. Okay, so that after BSc in computer science, he may continue into MSc later in life, or he may come back for BTech and then continue into BTech, or he can get into MCA like that. That is the whole purpose. Okay, all right. So plus add-on diploma and certificate, as I said. Now, there's another interesting thing, which is again totally national education policy inspired. So why BTech should be in one single subject? BTech should also be in more than one stream. That's what national education policy recommend, that it has got to be multidisciplinary. It should not be single discipline based learning. Of course, already you have seen that we have created this add-on facility to create that multidisciplinarity. But over and above, we have created a formal two-discipline learning. For example, electronics with physics would be a very good combination. Mathematics with computer science is a very strong combination. Similarly, computer science, information technology with bioinformatics is a very, killing combination. Why should we not make this possible? That's what we have been thinking. We have already, our Senate has already cleared it. It is at the final stage of implementing it. So this is like this. Semester 1 is first semester is still common. We cover only all credits orienting towards major, so about 20 credits orienting towards major, which may have whatever the management, whatever it is. Then semester 2 to semester 6, there are 5 semesters. What we do is we reduce the major credit to 10 per semester, and we introduce a minor credit also 10 per semester. So two streams. The education happens now in two related streams, but not two absurdly different streams. Two related streams, like mathematics with computer science is a good combination. Mathematics, computer science with physics also is a good combination. Those who want to do what sort of computation and the quantum computations, etc., they think of doing that. And similarly, computer science with the bioinformatics, bio department. So this is also good. That's why, whereas electronics with instrumentation, bioinstrumentation, that would be a good combination. Naturally, these combinations are limited to whatever the facilities that we have got. But in a typical engineering college where all branches exist, varieties of branches exist, then major and minor could be very strongly defined, very more meaningfully can be defined. So 10, then 5 semesters, so it becomes 50. 50 minor credit. Here 50 plus 20, now 70. Now the last 2 semesters will be only in major, which is 20 per semester. So total coverage is major is 110 credits and minor is 50 credits. So if a candidate exits at 8th semester, he will get a BTech degree with a major in one course and minor in another stream. One stream major and another stream minor. That is why we call it as twin stream major and minor. Okay. However, we have allowed him to go further. He can make use of one more 2 semesters. And what was minor here can be converted into another major if he likes. If he likes, he can spend. So he can spend the next 2 semesters, he can spend 20 plus 20, 40, right? And this is 110. Note that this 20 is being common, 50 plus 5, 90, plus this 20 which is common makes it virtually 110, right? This 20, this 50, this 40 makes it 110. So he will get BTech in twin streams if he spends one more 2 semesters. But we don't compel them. It is choice. It is choice based. As per the national education policy, it shall be choice based. Note that it is not integrated MTech. It would be integrated MTech had it been in one stream only. So one stream continuation will be integrated MTech. Even that we have got it. Even that we have got dual BTech and MTech degree also we have got. But then this is major and minor leading into twin stream. That's what we have done. Okay. So anybody can, I told you, anybody can drop a semester. For what? For he can drop the semester for internship, for entrepreneurship, for innovation, for research work, for developmental work, for incubation, for startup participation, for extra study. Then when he comes back, when he re-enters, the credit equivalent for the academic activities undertaken here should also be considered. If somebody has developed a software spark itself, or if he has in a software innovation, then why should we ask him to go through a software engineering course again? So the credit equivalence would be given and it would be waived off and he can continue. These are the things which we have thoroughly exploiting the advantage of national education policy. So faculty to student, we don't have the problem because government itself tells that we should maintain 1:12. So for L sessions, now, it can be as big as possible. L session is technology blend also today. Whereas T and P session, we maintain strictly 2:25. This about 1:12. But up to 1:15, it is manageable for the colleges. What AICT had told earlier, it was 1:15. I do not know now. AICT has allowed it to be split to 1:20, which is a very bad concept. Good colleges should still go with 1:15 to 1:12. Okay, L sessions should be by fully qualified faculty. T and P sessions, supervising the T and P sessions, mentoring and guiding these T and P sessions by fully qualified faculty, whereas engaging T and P sessions should be by our teaching assistants. So these teaching assistants, they can be MTech scholars or PhD scholars, they also get exposed. And note, that's not only the thing. The other most important thing is the age of these people would be compatible with the youngsters, and therefore the maximum power transfer automatically happens if these young teachers would guide them through T and P sessions. So this is what we have been implementing. I'm very sure you can derive, the teachers here can derive a lot of benefit from these models, and they can have their own. I shall not speak about technology blend. All of you are good enough. So learners have got to be mapped into performers, and the performer, this mapping is done by the teachers. The transformation is caused by the teachers. Okay, a future performer is the present learner, and the teacher is the one who creates the future performer. So last few points, please bear with me. Traditionally, instructional planning is divided into three components: curriculum, instruction, and assessment. Unfortunately, what is happening in our university system is curriculum is made by so-called board of studies. Instruction is a teacher who do it, who may not have any link with the board of study, and assessment is somebody who would do it. So unfortunately, in our university system, assessment becomes the finish line. There are three separate sequential steps. That is the pity, and that's what national education policy tells, that all these three should be interleaved. They should go together. Okay, that's what national education policy tells that. So it should be very, very interleaved, interrelate and reinforce each other. That's what has got to happen. So curriculum, instruction, and when assessment is viewed as the end goal, unfortunately, that is what is happening. Examination is viewed as the end point or the finish line. That itself becomes a barrier to high levels of student achievement. And that is why learning is not happening. And that is why India has realized, at least after 70 years of its independence, India has realized that there is a need for a big new educational policy, and national education policy has got to be thought of, has got to be given its due importance, right? Okay, see, if curriculum, instruction, and relevant learning become the focus, the tests will automatically take care of themselves. They will automatically happen, right? So the present education system attempts to produce similar product. That is the problem, with little creativity and innovativeness. There is no niche and skill differentiation among them. Even Gandhiji mentioned that. Gandhiji said that our education produces parts, not thinkers. Parts, not thinkers. There is no emphasis on individual aptitude. That's exactly today national education policy tells that we should overcome that. So a corrupt education system will breed corrupt minds all around. Evil results when good people like good teachers who are present here, if they do nothing, definitely evil results. I'm very sure all of us will do something to see that national education policy would really fix its fillip and really benefits all our learning community. Thank you very, very much for such a patient hearing. I'm sorry I really took over extra 15 minutes. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your extraordinary lecture, I will tell, because you have really brought in the nitty-gritties of the implementation of the new education policy. Because till now, what we were hearing, that one should know about the new education policy, but
Right.
you have provided a very, very detailed as well as exhaustive process as well as procedure how one can really implement the new education policy. And you have already done, in fact I am really happy to know that you have already started implementing this well ahead of the
Yes.
NEP 2020 when they have envisaged already, you have conceived and implemented. That is really wonderful. And I think now if any students are there in this audience, they might be thinking to be joining Triple IT Allahabad rather than any other educational institute, because you have told them 10 hours of relaxation and sleeping, then 6 hours of daily activities, and only 6 hours of reading,
8 hours.
and doing 8 hours of business. So I think you may be the first director of any educational institute of national importance who is telling like this. I think Dr. Das may agree. When we went to IITs and other things, it was never a kind of 8 hours of only learning and then 16 hours of enjoyment.
Right.
And sir, we have already late, so I will be taking only two questions before I requesting to Dr. Das for the final vote of words and his concluding remarks. Because two people, they are continuously telling me that they want to speak you and directly ask you questions, so I have made them a panelist.
Right.
So first and foremost, I request Mr. Deep Singh to directly ask the question to you. Mr. Deep Singh, over to you.
Tell me, Mr. Deep Singh.
Yes, sir.
Tell me, Deep Singh, I'm listening to you.
Yes, sir. Actually, I mean to ask that the education policy mainly focuses on the students to what the teachers have to teach. Then how would the teacher assess that they are teaching good or they are giving the right way or not?
So,
how would sir, one more thing I would like to add.
Yes.
Sir, how would we remove that barrier between the teachers that already the teachers are very much experienced, so they maybe have an old idea. So how would this idea would vanish from their mind and new idea would establish to them, so that they could tell the students to assess that idea?
That's the exactly, you just have said that the whole teaching learning has got to be in LTP model. So when the transaction happens, the student will be triggered to think in the new direction. So whole transaction is not for conventional examination. The whole transaction is to trigger the student to think in the own. That is why I am telling that the lecture component has got to be reduced, and it should only provide a big trigger to the candidate to think in his own direction. Okay. All right. It is not for with an intention of so-called examination.
Sorry, sir. Sir?
So the whole learning should not be with the intention of so-called examination. See, when you become focused towards examination, naturally you will be focused to see study the statistics of old question papers and then try to prepare. This is not like that. Once you hear the teacher, then you will start thinking and you will transact and take forward that to practice. That is what is happening. And the teacher will tell, see, look, this minimum you should do, because that definitely ensures the strong foundation. After that, you should think of your own applications. You should come out with the application, and the teacher will drive you to think towards very novel applications.
Sorry, sir. Sir, I mean to ask that how would the teachers would be given this idea, the new education policy, like the way you are delivering to many of the teachers, that you have to teach or you have to interpret yourself in this way according to the new education policy. So how would this happen on a large scale? Like
large scale in the sense that it need not be again a uniform policy for entire India, every institute. That is why at another end, the same national education policy tells that the colleges, the institution should become autonomous. The institution should be, totally autonomous, and they should become small universities. Only then all these things can happen. It takes time, but then it has got to happen. See, we were able to do it because we have one unit. IIIT Bangalore is able to do it because it is one unit. IIT Kanpur can be able to do it because it is one unit. Whereas today, unfortunately, university has several affiliating colleges, and that is why they have come to a via media now that the colleges have to become autonomous. Only when you are autonomous, you can think all these newer methods of doing it. And that's why national education policy first role is to make the institutions autonomous. In fact, I have not gone into those details. National education policy defines the three types of institutions. One, only teaching institutions. Two, research institutions, and three, advanced institutions, like that. Okay. So ultimately, if every autonomous institution has got researchers teaching the program, not ordinary teachers teaching the program. And please excuse me by putting it in that way. If the researchers are going to teach, then surely there will be a creative thinking possible. If teachers, only ordinary teachers teach, it becomes a tutorial. Tutorial is only to pass an examination. Tutorial is like tutorial classes that you attend to pass a joint entrance examination. It should not happen that. Okay? All right.
Yeah.
Sir, one more question.
So I think we will stop at this point of time.
Sure.
We have already crossed 8:40. I will request now.
I saw there was one observation by Professor B.S. Anami also. Okay.
Yeah.
I saw Professor B.S. Anami. Okay.
Yes. Sir, actually, most of your PhD students and to whom you have mentored, they all have joined. They are sending me messages. I don't want to bring all those.
Okay, right. Good. I'm happy.
Already exceeded almost 40 minutes, and I request our chair-elect Professor Devbrata Das, who himself is heading a very again Institute of National Eminence, IIIT Bangalore, your counterpart. So I think it is a very nice blend. IEEE only can create such kind of opportunity. We are having a very eminent, distinguished speaker like you, and our own chair-elect is from another educational institute, which is I can say leading institute at least in South India as in India. I request you to propose vote of thanks as well as concluding remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Puneet, for your kind words and detailed analysis. But let me tell you, one of the best talk I have heard for today on NEP 2020, and Professor P. Nagabhushan, hats off to you. From here, namaste from Bangalore. And very nice and very detailed. It seems you have a complete, clear vision, understanding, authority into that of this educational system, particularly today's talk with respect to teaching. Similarly, you will have a clear also in the research we will listen to in future. And it made it very crystal clear and quantified with respect to the credits, examinations, and what is undergraduate, what is postgraduate. Nobody talked so detailed. So for that only I said hats off to you for your vision and crystal clear path to do that. Thank you again for accepting our invitation to give a talk on this platform of India Council of IEEE. And I'm looking forward to meet you in Bangalore whenever you're coming here. Please drop in, just write me a mail. I'll come and receive you and host you. And it's nice of you for that. And thanks to Mr. Puneet Mishra for coordinating all those things. And also to our IEEE India Council's execum members. And thanks to all the attendees and also all the professors. This is the best talk before the Teachers' Day. 15th December is just day after tomorrow. This is the talk to that. Exactly talk to NEP 2020 from a renowned professors like Professor Nagabhushan. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And I'm looking forward to meet you.
I thank all of you, and I thank all people who have attended, and I thank all of them who are sending very inspirational feedback chats they are doing. I saw Professor Guru, I saw Avinash, I saw many people. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you all.
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you very much. Thank you,
Thank you
Das sir.
all.
Thank you, Nagabhushan sir, for
Thank you.
joining.
Thank
And,
you.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank
Good
you.
night.
Thank you.
So, friends, again, we will be meeting next month, first October 1st, Friday, the way we are conducting this ICPS webinar series with a new distinguished speaker, which will be sending you a detailed information, I think, from 2 to 3 weeks from now. Thank you very much. Have a good day. And please adhere COVID-19 protocol because we are still not away from the pandemic. We are still in the pandemic. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All the best. Thank you. Thank you. Nice meeting you, Professor Das.
Thank you. Nagabhushan, I'm looking forward to meet you again.
Yeah, sure. It's already more than 3 or 4 years, I think.
Yeah,
4
4
years earlier. Yes. Okay.
Please
Thank
come.
you. Thank you. Okay.
Bye.
Then.
Good night,
Bye.
Puneet.
Thank you, Puneet.
Good night, sir. Good night.
Thank you.
Good night,
Bye.
Professor. Bye.